Now let's focus on writing a learning goal from scratch. We're going to write a learning goal for a 7th grade lesson on dividing rational numbers. So the first thing we need to do is check out what the 7th grade standards say. There's actually 2 standards that address division of rational numbers. The first standard is 7NS12B, and the second standard is 7NS12C. Let's take a look at each of these. NS12B states that students will understand that integers can be divided, provided that the divisor is not 0, and every quotient of integers with non-zero divisor is a rational number. And if P and Q are integers, then we have negative P over Q equals negative P in the numerator over Q equals P over negative Q. And students are to interpret quotients of rational numbers by describing real-world context. Let's look at 1-2C. It says students will apply properties of operations as strategies to multiply and divide rational numbers. Now that we know what the standards say, we need to think about the learning progressions. So where would division of rational numbers fall in the learning progression? Well, previous learning for this topic would have been division of integers. But we also need to understand that students need to know how to divide rational numbers in finding unit rates and then using the unit rate to solve problems. In 8th grade, students will extend division of rational numbers in order to interpret problems that involve division of real numbers. So we've looked at the standard, we've talked about the learning progression, so this is information that will help us in writing the goals. So the next thing I need to look at is what is it that my students should know and be able to do. We're talking about division of rational numbers, and we're looking at the standards. So there's a couple of things that stand out here with these standards. First of all, students should be able to extend the rules for dividing integers to dividing rational numbers, and that includes signed numbers. And students also need to be able to relate multiplying rational numbers and dividing integers to division of rational numbers. So with these things in mind, let's write the learning goals of the lesson. The learning goals for this lesson might look like this. Students will understand how the signs of integers in multiplication relate to the signs in the related division sentence. And the second goal states that students will extend their knowledge about multiplying rational numbers and dividing integers to division of rational numbers. Ta-da! And just like that, we have a learning goal. Listen, you may be a rock star at writing learning goals, but for the rest of us poor mortals, here's my advice. Keep it simple. Address the learning, but write it in terms that you and your students will understand. And don't sweat the small stuff. Your goals don't have to be perfect. As long as they support the learning of the standards, you're good. The point of this discussion is just for us to be mindful and purposeful in writing and using goals to achieve the learning in the standard, no matter what those standards might be. Now it's your turn to write a goal. So in this next activity, I'm going to give you a standard and a topic that would fall under that standard. I want you to write a learning goal for that lesson. Remember, a learning goal addresses what students are to know and be able to do.